Hold on. I have trouble organizing. To read.
The perm readings.
Are you?
Perm's inclusion of the plain crops, the critique solves the arbitrage 99 base ontological orienting the test of the test presents a variety of difficulties for cyberism and cyber theory. The base political cultural obscurantism can add with the presumption towards the neo-globalitarian order is only a base question of the modern statement until he actively sought to avoid the discussion of the virtual class historical, the principle of political themes of refusal of social class. The implications of such a conclusion are numerous. It should be clear by now that the ontological anarchy of the test is properly belonged to the prehistoric cyberism, cyber theory, and debate itself will all but abandon these concepts, which is required by all that there will not romantic notion of the two-late capitalism, serious theoretical analysis, the comprehension of globalitarianism, and the politics of the cultural struggles, and the sabotage and demonstrate the resistance is inconceivable for individuals in science, anarchists, and close can never theorize such a struggle to on their own, and your duty to uphold our pedagogy is mutually exclusive with the furnace narcissism drove on the education need to struggle for the public space and dialogue about how to imagine appropriation and notion politics linked to the regime of authentic democracy while articulating new discourse for revision in the civic education space. But the politics of agencies of transformation neoliberalism has no interest in supporting forms of civic education designed to question the power of the political ethical response to demise of democracy. There's no room for the discourse providing the knowledge skills necessary for young people. They also define the civic education as essential steps toward the agency self-preservation and effective democracy. And the discourse of neoliberalism makes self-critical analysis impossible, and they eliminates the effort for critical engagement drove by their neoliberalism with no critical vocabulary speaking for self-political social transformation to democratic politics, nor is there any language to either speaking to the public commitments and national social capacity be able to change the basic assumptions, corporate ideology, to the neoliberalism eliminates very possibility of critical thinking, without which democratic debate becomes impossible. The shift to right makes it impossible for advocates of neoliberalism to implement the ruthless economic political policies without having to open themselves to such actions and debate. Along the dialogue at the bottom of the debate, they said they have to win that the task is good. They just have to win it's good in this instance. They have to defend the ideology of the affirmative plan and with struggle to endorse the plan and the framework debate. Fluidity is the definition of moving target and the definition of no stable ground for the negative. Non-X's are state good ground because they can say that there's just no link to any of state good arguments because they allow for the fluidity and the endorsement of states in other instances, but they get all of their impact towards the state being bad. It destroys the negative ground. That the state good action and the determination of whether or not they explicitly endorse or explicitly reject state action is the foundation for all negative ground, and the determination of whether our counterplans are competitive and whether or not they endorse the state action. We can endorse and distinguish counterplan as the foundation of our dissent, so whether or not we can get a link toward the legitimacy dissent or a desegregation bad dissent is critical to our critiques of whether or not and how or alternative functions your ground that you can say the Detroit lines are good or segregation is good or that racism is good or that temporal ground is good is bad ground for the negative. Is not predictable because it's not inherently tied to the resolution. All of their ground is inherently tied to the 1AC Speech Act and the specific to the case of negative obliterates the negative to have any pre-round impact and destroys the negative's ability to have generic ground, which are critical to new affirmatives and are critical to the ways in which their affirmative can adapt or other and prevents the affirmative negative from having any off-case grounds and forces the negative to defend awful things such as racism good or that the conditions within Detroit are good. They're forcing us to impact her and all of their criticism of makes us go straight to the issue and would force the negative to defend genocide good in the case of this. So the negative should be able to have stable off-case arguments which are impossible if you do not defend how the state influences the plan. The ground issue is a voting issue because there's a predetermination of whether the negative is able to competitively debate and participate within this debate ground. It is a prerequisite to all your education arguments. Wade 96. Competition motivates learning. Competition encourages involvement in participating, offering incentives to learn. Competition invites the engagement of the fosters the community through mentoring, through camaraderie, the team involvement through the focus on common tasks. Competition can encourage the experimental education and teaches students how to cope with success and failure. The means of redefining writing, losing success and failure, stress. The experience motivates one to excel both in the world of academic achievement. Competition offers the potential for making structure pedagogy is relevant to a ground as the coming century advantage very efficient ways to understand the competition, success and failure, winning and losing experiential education. The potential to increase the types of population participating within the NDT. They say that they do not endorse the state in all instances. That's the choice number one. They can see that they do not meet our interpretation because they are not an explicit endorsement of the way. They say that they can perm our criticism. This is our argument because you can perm both the state good and the state bad criticism. It is impossible for the negative to generate any stable offense. There is no offensive counter-interpretation to what ground the negative has to not allow them to spin in new arguments. The 2AC does not give us a list of the stable ground that was a fundamental standard within our 1AC law. They say that the state is inevitable. Yes, that is the fundamental. They extend across our evidence that it's a fundamental question. Is the question of whether or not you choose to engage the state. Our pedagogy and our preamble to our counterplan in our entirety, our criticism is that our pedagogy engages the state, but you leave open the possibility to not engage the state and turn away and do not explicitly endorse the state. Hold them to what Andy said in the 1AC. Andy said we are not endorsing the state now. They do not endorse it. The 1AC was not fluid. The 1AC links all of your fluidity bad arguments because he did not endorse it out. The 1AC they left the blanket injection proof then gave change to stance within the argument because it assumes whether they try to lead to a change or Detroit and they're taking the proactive chance to lead to desegregation, and we should hold ourselves to finite truth claims. The methodology to defend truth claims depends upon specific deployments of reason, evidence, and logic, rejecting the specific truth claims on the basis of constructivism and that life is fluid, destroys the life, and affirms prejudice, so-called 97. The nature of truth and reason objectively believe are crucial to the goals of left politics. My goal is to defend the respect for evidence and logic within thinking. The ivory towers are insulated from the real world consequences of the ideas they espouse and seem to apply to the fact that non-rationality has history been among the most powerful weapons of the oppressors. When the local politics conflict with local politics speak to me, in the local politics whether there have been a wave of the teenage motherhood destroying the moral fibers of the birth rate of the teenage for the teenage mothers have been quite essentially the same since 1975. The result of the local knowledge prejudice. They can't talk about the exploitation of respect for empirical evidence. Sometimes the false claims denominate that we should reject the concept of truth. They claim until they wish with the sloppy preconditions, social constructions, and the prevalent no obviously activity something is the progressive change. Just they say that they should reject the debate of stale debate. This is critical precondition for the negative to be able to gain in the competitive nature. They say that they don't defend a stable politics and the resolution should not be in the bubble. We do not say that the resolution be in the bubble. All these arguments are not offensive to our interpretation argument. It's just that you must defend a stable advocacy. It's not whether or not the resolution is a bubble. With the plain text, the affirmative advocacy must be in a bubble. The same that they say the Blake Recession must call for a fluid life. We are impact terming this because it prevents the negative from being able to engage in debate. There's no argument in the choice. Hold them to this is how the negative can engage in this debate. These arguments are all criticisms of our advocacy, but not an endorsement of how the negative can debate.